Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Startup of the Year Alumni Startup Spotlight session as part of our 2020 Summit. My name is John Guidos. I'm the Director of Strategic Operations at Established, the company that powers the Startup of the Year program and Summit. I'm also a managing member of our investment group, Established Ventures. And on a side note, I myself am also a Startup of the Year alum for a company that I co-founded and subsequently sold called Turbo Appeal, which makes me the perfect candidate to be the moderator for this panel. I feel like that is anyways. So we will see. That's to be determined. But anyways, I'm thrilled to be here today with this group of amazing founders that were all part of the Startup of the Year competition and ecosystem over the past couple of years. During the session, I will be asking our panelists some questions to learn more about their companies and their story. But we will also be fielding questions from our audience. So feel free to drop some questions down for our panel in the chat window, and I will make sure to try and get them to the panelists. So I'm going to start by doing a brief intro, and then we are going to go around the horn and field some questions, do some Q&A, and learn more about everybody. So let's get started with those intros here. First off, we have Stephanie Lampkin. She's the founder and CEO of Blendoor and was the 2015 Startup of the Year winner. So welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Stephanie, fun fact, actually beat my company. We came in second place. So Stephanie was first and we were runners up, and she did an amazing job and we were blown away by her pitch. But there's a little bit of competition there. So no, I'm just kidding. Okay. Next up, we have Paulie Rodriguez. She's the co-founder and CEO of Unbound and a 2017 top 5 finalist. So hi, Paulie.
Hi. We also came in second place. So right there with you.
Awesome. Great. And then we also have Danielle Rushton, the CEO and co-founder of Wherewithal, formerly known as Fruitful, a 2019 top 5 finalist. So hi, Danielle.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Welcome. And I do see we have Courtney Caldwell, who is one of our other panelists, and there was a technical glitch getting her in here, but it looks like she's signed on, so hopefully she'll be popping up on camera here shortly. And we will welcome and introduce her as soon as we see her.
Hey, John, can you hear us? Are we audible?
Yes, you are audible, but we cannot see you yet. So
I will let Mark work his magic. There we go.
Okay. Wonderful. So Courtney, welcome. We will see you in a second. We'll get, oh, there they are. Awesome. So we have Courtney Caldwell and Dr. Ty Caldwell. They are the co-founders of ShearShare, and they are a Established Ventures portfolio company. So we're excited to have them on board. And they were also the 2016 Startup of the Year winners. So hello, Caldwell. Glad to have you on here.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Sorry about the technical issues up front, but we'll get past it. So
yeah, we're good.
Thanks, everybody. So as I mentioned, we're going to ask some questions and then go around the horn. So let's get into it. And what I want to first do is, I did a very brief intro, but I kind of want to go around the room and hear a little bit about everyone's company and, a little bit more information, like where did the idea come from? When did you start it? Maybe talk about the business model or the user experience. So I'm just going to start as I see it on my camera feed here. And I'm going to start with Danielle, if you want to start us off, and then we'll go around the horn.
Yeah, so Wherewithal is a direct-to-consumer bra company. We have a patent pending on a new bra design that will actually allow our customer to create their own personal fit for the first time ever. Through that design, we will actually be offering a simplified sizing system. So less waste, less sizes, less confusion. Really, our design is more of a framework that has built-in personalization. Really, it's just an adjustable backband that women can slide to adjust to fit exactly as they need it to. 80% of women are wearing the wrong bra size. And I mean, if that's a statistic in any other industry, it's like that product is fundamentally flawed. So as these new bra companies come up and they're being more inclusive and more body positive, it's wonderful. But truly our perspective and our point of view is to kind of dismantle everything about the bra industry and start from scratch and start over. So the idea really came when I was working at Home Shopping Network. I was on the e-commerce team there and then the social media marketing team, and I was in the fashion division. And what I found was the intimates category week over week was driving the success of the fashion division. And we would laugh because the bras are kind of a little bit older, these colors, lacy, like how is this still happening? But it's an essential item truly that, you know, even in this pandemic, it's a wellness problem. If you need that support, you have to wear a bra. And so what I also found was that our larger sizes of interesting necklines, if you will, off the shoulder, one shoulder blouses, we could never sell through those larger sizes because they didn't have the bra to support underneath. So I have been a victim of not being properly fit into clothes my entire life. And I just wanted to start making things for myself. And it led me to this new design that will hopefully allow everyone their own size liberation and being able to fit in what feels best for them. So.
Sure, great. And I have to ask you a quick follow-up because we first met you as Fruitful was the name of your company, and then you transitioned over to Wherewithal. So can you maybe tell us what happened there, or what's the story?
Sure. So Fruitful, it kind of all goes into this new brand identity when it comes to bras. We wanted it to be fun and cheeky and playful, but there was a t-shirt company called Fruitful and Fabulous that had phonetically, you cannot, you know, trademark something in the same industry. So we had some trademark challenges there, kind of forced us to look inward a bit and really think back to why we're doing this. And when you have the wherewithal, you have the tools, you have what you need to do whatever it is that you're trying to get done. And so ultimately we want this to be a tool for women to use because the bra is the least interesting thing about any one of us on this panel, any one of us in this world. It's just something that we wear to do the things that we want to do. So it was a challenge and it was disappointing at the time, but I'm finding all the disappointments actually end up being blessings. So we're excited about the new name for sure.
Oh, great. Good. Let's keep rolling here then. So next up we have Paulie Rodriguez. Paulie, can you tell us a little bit about your company and the story that?
Yeah, sure. So we're also in consumer products. Unbound is a sexual wellness company. So we make about 35 vibrators, lubricants, and accessories with the goal of taking a category that for so long has been at truck stops on the side of the highway and really bringing it to the mainstream with body safe materials, because it's also a category that isn't regulated by the FDA. So there are lots of materials that are used in these products that you should not be putting in one of the most absorbent parts of your body. For me personally, this is certainly not the company I thought I would end up starting. I think my mom was also equally surprised when I told her that this was what I wanted to do. But I went through a stage 3 colon cancer diagnosis when I was 21 years old and went through menopause as a result of radiation treatment to shrink the size of the tumor that beamed through my reproductive organs. And at the time, my doctors sat me down and told me that I would never have children as a result of that radiation, but that was all that they shared with me. And it wasn't until I was about a month into treatment that I started having symptoms. And so I did what most millennials and Gen Z people do, which is turn to the internet. And that was how I found out I was going through menopause. And so similar to a lot of women, I found myself, this was in 2007, 2008, shopping at the only place that sold them in my hometown, which was a Hustler Hollywood next to the airport in a strip mall in St. Louis, Missouri, where I grew up. And I think as I, went through a career working for Senator Clement McCaskill from Missouri, and then for Deloitte's strategy consulting group, and then at a dating startup called Grouper, it was always this customer experience that haunted me as a thing that I thought could be better, both from a product development perspective and from an online destination shopping experience. So I've been working on the company for 6 years. It's had a lot of ups and downs, but we recently just broke through 10 million in sales, which is huge because we bootstrapped for like the first 3 years.
Wow.
So yeah, it's definitely not been a Cinderella story by any means, but it's been great. And being a part of Startup of the Year was definitely a high point in the journey, and one that created a lot of growth opportunities for us.
Wow. Well, that's an incredible story. And a noble endeavor that you're taking on. So, congrats. And we'll hear a little bit more about that here shortly. But moving on, Stephanie, tell us about Blendoor.
Yeah, so Blendoor is an AI and people analytics enterprise software company. So we sell to companies, B2B, focused on leveraging analytics to mitigate unconscious bias in hiring and promote diverse outcomes. I started the company in 2015 as a result of my own personal experience with bias in the recruiting process. So a little bit about my background. Very humble beginnings from the DC area. But the reason we ended up here was because my mom was actually homeless while pregnant with me, and later battled a drug addiction. And so we lived with her sister, who at the time was a computer scientist at the University of Maryland, College Park. So she got me into coding really young. And I went on to go to Stanford, worked for Microsoft for a bit, and then got a grad degree from MIT. About 6 months after graduating from MIT, I interviewed for an analytical lead role at Google in New York. Made it through the final rounds, thought everything was smooth, but the recruiter came back and said, we don't think you're quite technical enough, but we'll hang on to your resume in case some more sales or marketing position opens up. And I know that that is code speak in tech companies for how they put a lot of overly qualified women into limited trajectory roles. So I politely declined, and then later found out that out of 55,000 employees, Google only had 12 African-American women in technical roles. And the narrative is always, it's a pipeline problem, it's a pipeline problem. So that really charged me to take my non-technical self, and I built the first version of Blendoor in my mom's basement, and then started pitching it. Startup of the year was one of my first pitches, having moved to the West Coast, and the rest is history. We've worked with over 200 companies, and we've recently released an index that rates and ranks companies across diversity, equity, and inclusion metrics.
Well, that's great. And that's one of those things where, some people need to find motivation in the morning or get that fire under them to get stuff done. And it sounds like that would be a pretty easy thing to do, to motivate you to do good in the world. So that's another incredible story. You're making my job easy here. Everything's pretty amazing. So, all right, Ty and Courtney, can you all share with us some about ShearShare, please?
Great. I mean, other than me sitting beside this beauty queen, I'm actually the one that comes from the industry. So ShearShare is the first B2B mobile app that allows licensed beauty professionals to rent empty salon and barbershop space on demand. So by the day. So giving these licensed professionals the opportunity to not have to sign long-term contracts, to not have to worry about a lease, but actually work whenever, wherever. And we're affectionately called Airbnb. So that's what people have affectionately called us. And so we took that URL really quick. But what we've done is a little bit of background on us. I've been in the beauty industry for almost 30 years, salon and barbershop owner for more than 2 decades. And we saw that there was a shift in the industry around 2012 after I had expanded and rebranded my own location. And a stylist came by one day and wanted to know if she could rent an empty chair. And at that time, we didn't see that shift actually coming, but I was like, okay, well, who does that? So I told her I'd give her a call in a day. I went home and told my wife about it, and she laughed. She's like, who does that? And I was like,
no one rents space. No professional rents space in our industry by the day. You always sign a long-term contract. You always work by commission. That's never happened before. So I honestly did just kind of laugh it off.
So after talking about it, I was like, you know what? The place is just collecting dust, and I'm not making any money. So let me just give her the opportunity. Called her up and told her that I would love for her to just come and rent the place. What I found out is that, while we creating disparities for licensed professionals who are just looking for space, she rented the space for that weekend, a couple of days, Friday and Saturday. I told her about a price, gave her a premium price, and kind of broke it down based on the amenities that she wanted. She wanted an empty space. She wanted a community of other like-minded stylists, and she just felt like she was a part of the team. And so after that experience, she asked me, could I help her get closer to her clients in different locations, because she wanted to do that. And I was like, well, why do you choose me to do it? And she was like, for one, there's 2 reasons. One, you're a licensed professional. You understand what we need. And 2, you own a salon. So if you call a salon for me, they're not going to hang up on me, because for one, you understand the lingo, you understand what my needs are, and you can tell them. But if I call them, they're just going to hang up in my face. So I ended up doing that for her. She ended up getting her at like 3 other salons, and she just really liked the experience. I think the apprehension from the salon owners was, how was my experience? Was she licensed? Was she professional? All those different things that we now have on the app that we had that directional data 3 years in doing it manually. And I think that what gave us the opportunity was that manual data before we ever built out the ShearShare app. And once we realized that her friends were calling her up, because we're in social media age now where she's posting on social media sites, and everybody's asking, how are you going to these different locations? And she gave them our personal number. So we had so many licensed professionals personal number for years, helping them get space to rent. And it was just one of those things where it just worked. And Courtney was there helping me while she's working in corporate.
Yeah. So I unfortunately am not a licensed beauty or barbering professional. That is not my gift. My husband, though, I'm blessed to have been married to who I consider honestly to be the most unemployable person that I know. He's always been an entrepreneur since the day I met him. And so I was busy working in corporate America for 20 plus years and loved what I was doing. Thought that I honestly was going to retire from Oracle. And one day my husband came home and said, hey, you know that problem we've been having at the salon? I think this needs to be an app. And I immediately said, okay, well, let's go build it. And so we did a few things as we bootstrapped ShearShare, including eating a lot of Chipotle, rice and beans. And we were sitting there one night, and Ty pulled out a napkin and said, okay, if we're serious about this, what would the app look like? And to this day, we still have the napkin drawing of what the rudimentary screens of the ShearShare app look like. But today, ShearShare is in over 625 cities and 11 countries, and we're helping to refuel industry recovery in all across America. And so we could not be more proud.
Well, that's great. So Frank Gruber, our co-CEO, just was messaging me and said he needs a haircut and needs to log on immediately to find out where he can take care of that. But I think we all do, actually. I haven't had a real haircut in months. But also, did I see some good news come across the wires recently about you all?
You are correct, John.
Are we allowed to talk about that?
Oh yeah, I think if it's on TechCrunch, it's allowable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but yes, we just closed our seed round. So excited about that. Have some phenomenal investors, including Mary Grove from Bread and Butter Ventures, Mark Cuban, who is the sole LP for Arlen Hamilton's fund, Steve Case and David Hall of Rise of the Rest, the Saxby Family Fund. Lightspeed
Arlen
Venture Partners. It's been unreal. But I think that people see that our industry is the second largest industry for freelancers, and beauty is not going anywhere by any means. And some people would even argue to say that we are essential. And so we're not surprised that we were able to be able to raise in a pandemic.
And I think the great thing about it is, this is the first time they've ever I've been elected to the PBA. So the first African American in 100 years that they've elected to the council. Yeah. And so just being a part of that and giving them a lot of the hardships that we go through this pandemic, and really giving them the opportunity to see how essential we are, because our license comes through having that. You have to have a precautionary, all the things that it takes in order to be a stylist. So you have to go through all the precautionary rules and all the licensing. And so I think that was a great thing. But I've earned my doctorate in professional barbering and cosmetology. Right. So to be a part of the PBA is going to really help us get to the next level in this industry.
Yeah.
Well, that's phenomenal. That deserves we need to celebrate that. It's been a rough year for various reasons. So congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll have our tech team sprinkle in some cheering there. So that's that's great. So I think I may have muted.
Oh, you're muted now.
Hey, John, you're not audible. Now we can, yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Can you still hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Technology, right? So my apologies. So I want to hear about how you all build your teams and what kind of background you look for in those individuals that you bring on board. So I'm going to go again around the horn here. So I'm going to start with Danielle. So tell us a little bit about your team and how you go about building it.
Yeah, and I just do want to say, Courtney and Ty, absolutely an essential business. I live in Florida, so we were allowed to go out a little bit. That's the first thing I did. And my hairstylist, her salon never closed down, and I had literally the thought, I was like, this is an essential business.
Yeah,
So.
it's for our wellness. Thank you for that, Danielle.
Yeah, but growing our team. So I met my co-founder, Ellery, at HSN. I actually had interviewed to be on her team, and I ended up getting promoted within my own team, but we kept in touch. And randomly, we were at the hub where we had lunch, and I wasn't telling anyone at HSN about, this side thing that I was building. And for some reason, it just kind of came out of me when I was talking with her, and it really resonated with her. She picked her wedding dress based on the bra she was going to wear. Like we have these limitations that are so annoying, and we've just accepted them for so long and she's also, she got a breast reduction, and that's something she'll speak about very freely. And it's insane, I think, how much our bra and our size affects our life and kind of limits us in a way. And so she was the first person who believed in me. I left HSN in May of 2018, and she joined me later that year in September. And so from that point, we just finished a friends and family round before the pandemic had hit. So we raised a little bit of money. We were able to hire our technical designer and our manufacturing and sourcing head. We don't have a technical term title for her yet, but she's our VP, if you will, of manufacturing and sourcing. And so these women, it's incredibly hard to find people in this industry. It's so specialized, it's so secretive. They don't want people like us just knocking on the door. And it's really, there's only a handful of bra companies because it's such a technical garment and people aren't out there in the masses making it. We spent 2 years trying to make it domestically, looking for a manufacturer in the United States to produce these bras, and there are no bra manufacturers in America. And so that was part of the issue. And then once we hired our technical designer and our manufacturing and sourcing lead, we were able to use their connections within the industry. They both have over 20 years of experience. They're incredible. And they also just really believe in what we're doing. So next up is marketing and social media and all of that. We have extensions of our team. We're partnering with Shopify for our distribution. We have incredible patent attorneys and corporate attorneys. But as far as next steps, it would definitely be that marketing person. And marketing, I think, is one of those positions that people not underestimate, but underrate how hard it is and how many social media platforms you have to be in charge of, and how you have to format something different for Instagram than you do for Twitter, and the character count. And so it's a crazy position, and that's definitely how we'll be marketing to our potential customers. So that's next on the list, but we're actively raising right now to be able to hire that person on. So.
Well, great. Well, we'll get back to those asks in a little bit, but right now I'm going to keep rolling. So, Paulie, how about your team, and what do you look for when you're building your team?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like I did it by myself for a while, and then I'm my co-founder. The first hire I actually made was social media. That's largely because I didn't have any money and I could pay her. Like I was like, I can only pay you for 15 hours a week. She was right out of school. She was really witty and funny. And I found that social media, you had to post consistently and you had to be a little out there to garner attention because of our category. We're not allowed to advertise on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, Twitter, TV, the subway, all banned, despite the fact.
Oh, wow.
Products for men and erectile dysfunction are like totally fine. But that's another conversation for another day. In terms of, I think one of the things that's really important to do early on is to find what your company core values are, because it makes the hiring process infinitely more efficient. So for us, we knew it was resiliency, empathy, and scrappiness. So people that are willing to be resourceful, because we've never had like a ton of money. And I think once we really took those values and then defined them like into behavioral questions of like, how are those behaviors demonstrated? It made the hiring process a lot easier and more efficient. And the other thing we did that was really helpful was we created an actual scorecard. So we have all these values that we are looking for in candidates, and then we have the questions that we ask them. And then on a scale of like 1 to 5, we have like a range of people on the team who, after interviewing, fill out the scorecards and how well they thought they answered the question relative to the attribute we're looking to. And it's really made and I would love to hear Stephanie's opinion on if we are totally messing this up, but for us, it's made the process a lot more objective in terms of how do we remove bias that is in all of us, regardless of whether we see it or not. So I think it is up to founders to really focus on defining what are the values that you want to see in your employees that are going to make your company great. And I would urge you to try to get as specific as possible, because it's really easy to be like hustler culture. And it's like, okay, but what does that actually mean? So yeah, sure. That's how we've built the team.
Yeah, one of the things one of the hurdles that I had to navigate as a startup founder, and I'm interested to hear all of your input on this, is when you hire somebody that has a corporate background into a startup and they sit down and they say, well, I have all these great ideas, and then where's the team to do it, right? And you have to look at them in the eye and say, okay, now you need to do it, right? So you don't have some of that cushion from a corporate background. And I come from a big corporation too, so I guess I can speak to this as well and not feel bad about it, but something we had to navigate. But anyways, Stephanie, I know that Paulie kind of had a question for you, and interested to learn, because you're in that space, your thoughts on building your team.
Yeah, structured interviewing is awesome. So you are definitely on the right track. The more structure and transparency, the more likely you are to have a meritocratic process. So kudos to you on that. And kudos to you ladies for disrupting the patriarchy. Like, your products are amazing. Every night when I take off my bra, I feel like this is the patriarchy. Things shouldn't be this uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, my technical designer and I, we always talk about this must have been made by a man, and it was, so.
So yeah, the way my hiring process looks is actually quite inbound. I do speaking engagements in places, in universities where I want to attract a certain amount of talent. And it's basically me throwing the bait out there to say, hey, this is my story. This is what I'm doing. If it resonates with you, contact me. So my first hire was a white cisgender male from Stanford. And he met me through this tech inclusion conference, and then he followed me on Twitter and LinkedIn. And then at some point we connected because I applied through the Stanford StartX Accelerator, and he happened to be one of the judges, and later joined our team full time. And so I've kind of followed that model pretty consistently, just kind of putting myself out there. I speak at a lot of universities and events, and just, hope to attract people who are really passionate about what we're doing. And oftentimes that comes in the form of people who have experienced bias in some way. It resonates with them. And it's not just a race thing or a gender thing. I don't know if you remember, in 2015, we had like a pre-pitch meeting for all of the folks. And I was the only woman and person of color among that cohort. And I just asked you guys, frankly, I was like, look, what can I pitch to appeal to this audience, given it's going to be predominantly white and Asian male? And you guys told me, make it relatable, make it resonate, because everyone has experienced bias, whether because of their age, their socioeconomic background, et cetera. And so I think that's really what I've prioritized in my personal and professional branding and communication, is that this is bigger than just race and gender. We all experience it, and we'll all be better off if we fix it. So if you're passionate about that, come to Blendoor.
It's funny, and I'm going to share something for a second. I know I'm not going to make this about me, but I want to share this with you because you oftentimes don't get the other side of the story, right? You just go on with your life. But yeah. I remember that conversation, and I remember my co-founder and I looked at each other when we met you, because I remember you were like walking around backstage, like looking at your cards and like going over your speech in your head. And my co-founder and I literally looked at each other and we were like, yeah, she's got this, man. She's good. She's intense. She's sharp. She's going to win this thing. And you did. So, I mean, I guess I'm saying that as a compliment to you that, you may have internalized our feedback or the situation differently, but we thought the world of you, and we knew that you were sharp and you knew your stuff and you were heavy competition and you won. So, I'm saying that as a compliment, and I hope you take that.
I internalize everything in a positive way. I've actually never been in a competitive environment like that, where it felt like we were actually collaborating before we were competing. And everyone involved was super supportive and helpful.
That's great. That's great.
Helpful.
Awesome. So we're going to keep rolling. So Ty and Courtney, what do you all look for when you're building your team?
Yeah, first I want to say, John, you're correct. Stephanie is amazing with a capital AH. So we share in that. Okay, so building our team, we were bootstrapping for the first few years, really because we didn't even know that the Silicon Valley world existed. We were like, what? There's a place that will give you money, and there are people called angels and venture capitalists who will give you checks to go build your dream. So we just did what we knew how to do, and that was save money, eat a lot of rice and beans, and then build this thing, you know, as we went. Because we knew that we had to help keep our small businesses open. We knew that we were tired of seeing our neighborhood barbershops and mom and pop salons shut down. And we were like, okay, if we're helping to place individual stylists where and when they need to work without them having to be locked down to a long-term contract and everybody's winning, then this has to be created. It just has to be. And so Ty and I met at his salon like 20 years ago. Like, how funny is that we are still in this industry? And we've learned over the years of being married co-founders that in order for him to be his best, in order for me to be my best, we have to staff our weaknesses, right? So he is clearly the visionary. He's clearly the subject matter expert when it comes to all things ShearShare. You know, while the team is busy executing on day-to-day essentials, he's thinking, you know, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, you know, the challenges that he faced from year 1 to year 30, and how we can lower that hurdle for everyone else coming behind us. And my strength is in operations and B2B marketing. And so we live in our lanes, and that's really how we work the best together. And then everything else we've been able to staff up. But you're right, though, John, it's been interesting as we have grown. And after that fresh amount of funding, we're hiring more people. So we've hired, 6 people in the last 60 days?
Yes.
60 people in the last 60 days? 45 days, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the last one was a really big one for us. Steve is our newest team member, and he is our new Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships. Now, Steve, and it's crazy because every person we hire, it's like, wow, like people are as passionate about this problem as we are. Like, we never think that we always feel like we have to convince someone or like trick them into, you know, loving ShearShare as much as we love ShearShare. But Steve comes from 20 years at American Airlines. And he says he remembers when people were like, online booking, no one's ever going to do that for travel. People are never going to go that way. And so he immediately sees the value in ShearShare, and he's like, oh yeah, we got this. So, but yeah, corporate background, and he is like so hungry for this startup world because he's tired of pressing like the same button, you know, like every single day. So we're very happy to have him.
And one of the things I will add, and I think that all the ladies, you know, I'm the only man on this panel other than you, that I can say about a startup is that we move fast and we change fast. So the first few hires, whether that be the first 3, the first 5, the first 10, the first 20, it's imperative to your growth, it's imperative to your success. So hiring people that are just as passionate about what you're building and excited about the vision that you have for the company as a co-founder or founder is really important. And so when we're doing interviews, we want to know not just that you have the talent, but you know, that you can come and bring something to the team and that you can run with it. I always tell everybody, I come in last and I interview them. I don't micromanage. You got to come in with the expertise. You got to be able to take this opportunity and run with it, figure things out. That's what startups are. And then we know we can all kind of collaborate with our goals in our minds, whether we want to build in workshops and OKRs, and then figure out how we're going to build the company. But it's really imperative for those first hires to really, 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 really be really for the company and in it to win it.
Yeah, that's true. And I think something smart that we did unintentionally was that we started hiring for service and support first. We weren't focused on, you know, all things marketing or sales. That's because we knew that because we serve the service industry, we wanted to be able to provide a brown glove service at every interaction, at every engagement, and it had to be top tier. We also knew that if your service is 5-star, that people will be a little bit more forgiving when the technology or the app per se is not, you know, always operating as it should. And so we've taken that, and even to this day, you'll see reviews online about ShearShare, and people always talk about the service and the level of support that we provide. And we really feel that it's part of our ShearShare DNA to give that type of service back to people who service us on a daily basis.
Well, and you know, Maya Angelou said, people will always forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. So the goal is to always make them feel special, good, bad, and different. and just always put them first. And so that's what we've always done from the beginning.
Great. Good words to live by. So I have a question that came in from the audience here. So I'm going to, hopefully I say this right, but so let's talk about grit. How has it been during the pandemic? What are you doing to keep pushing forward? And let's change it up. Let's start with Paulie on this one, if you don't mind.
No, of course I don't. Well, it's weird. I mean, grit overall is really hard. I think a lot of people, I think pretty much everyone here bootstrapped for at least a little while. And that is, I mean, I can talk about the pandemic, but I actually think bootstrapping is the thing that requires the most grit, because you have to like so deeply believe in what you're doing to still want to wake up every day and get paid nothing to build it. And so I think that requires the most grit. In terms of the pandemic, I think the thing that's been the most challenging is, like, I'm a extrovert who like thrives off of connecting with people and being in the office and having serendipitous ideas and meetings. And we had to give up our office in Union Square and all go completely remote. And actually just decided last week that we're going to be remote throughout all of 2021. And it's just hard. Like, it's very hard to lead a team through Zoom. It's hard to motivate. It's hard to get excited. It's hard to connect with people. It's really hard to onboard new team members. And that's been tough. The other thing that is hard is that I'm really realizing now is how much structure and thought has to go into communication and project management. So we were project management light in terms of like the tools we used before the pandemic. And now that we're in the pandemic, I feel like half of my job is just figuring out how to efficiently communicate with other people on the team in a way where I am walking the very fine line of enough information that you need to know and not so much information where you're not going to read it and engage with it in a way that's meaningful. So yeah, I think managing teams remotely has required a lot of grit, and it's hard to get up every Monday and be like, all right, I'm going to sit in front of the screen again for 12 hours today. So I wish I had better answers for how to make that better, but.
No, that's good strategy. So Danielle, how about you? How have you dealt with, or if you could talk about grit as both a founder of a startup and then also through this pandemic?
Yeah, I think it goes back to just why I even started this in the beginning was to solve my own problem. And then once I found out that this was a problem for so many other people, they essentially became the driving force. I think every time I talk to any woman, this outpouring hatred for their bra that they've internalized their entire life because they've never had somebody to talk to kind of is overwhelming and so gratifying for what we're doing. So that's always been what kept us going when we heard the no's from everyone. Why hasn't somebody else done this design before? And I'm like, I don't know. I wish they would have, because I wouldn't be doing this right now. So it's like all of those no's and all of the naysayers, I'll say. There is a quote that I think kind of pushed me through that. It's like the walls are there to keep out the people who don't want it bad enough. And so that's something that's always kind of stuck with me, because once you get over that hump, just like our brand name, when Fruitful, when we had those challenges, we were like, great, what are we going to do? And if we would have stopped at that point, Wherewithal is so much better and encompasses so much more of what we're trying to do with this brand. So I think if you have that passion and you're doing this for a purpose, because you're not just trying to start a company to start a company, you're going to keep going to the moon. And so with the pandemic, especially, it's been tough because half of our team is in Tampa and half the other two people on our team are in New York. And so these virtual fittings that we're doing with professional fit models, and we're doing a two-step approach for our fit process. Since this is such a new size, this is such a new sizing system, we're using professional fit models and then also doing product testers. And what we wanted to do was host fit and sit parties and have, real women just come and try on the bras and validate if it fits, if it works, after we have those technical fittings. But that's been virtual. That's been very difficult. I'm more of the high level person, and Ellery is like my right brain, who is all detail oriented. And so I get these lab dips, these color swatches, and they look the same. I'm going cross-eyed. And yesterday I was like, man, this is the time where I wish we had an office where I could just walk in and ask for your help. And it's been hard to be remote. Even though Ellery and I are in the same city, we're still working from our own homes. So even little nuances like that. But I agree with what you said, Paulie. Just, are you saying too much? How are we managing this? I'm a tangible person, so I write everything down, and then I have to like take a picture, upload it, and put it in one of our 1,000 Google Docs. So it's been tough not having that in-person physiological, I can't say that word apparently, that physical connection, I guess, to anybody on our team right now. It's been hard, but what you all said about that, the people that you hire who are just as passionate as you are, I'm very thankful for that, and for the people on my team at this point having that same passion, because that's what gets us through it.
Sure. So Stephanie, how about you? Maybe you could talk about Grit a little bit, and not only as a co-founder or a founder, but also in the pandemic as well.
Yeah, so I have come from a very long distance in order to be where I am. The majority of my childhood, I grew up below the poverty line. And poverty is kind of quarantine. There's a lot of things you cannot do when you do not have money. And you therefore become extremely resourceful at getting what you need in as efficient of a way as possible. So COVID and the pandemic hasn't been as a shock to my system as it has been to others, because I've been here before, of just not being able to do what I would like to do and what I would need to do. And so the way that I've internalized it really is just an opportunity for me to find more efficient ways to get things done. Because we're B2B enterprise SaaS, I've already experienced having remote teams. Of course, we've had to double down on that. But early part of COVID, a lot of hiring slowed down, and we had to pivot to a product that companies could actually get value from, even though they weren't actively recruiting. And the death of George Floyd really accelerated interest in solutions that can enable people to understand their commitment to diversity and a strategy for promoting it. And so that's why we doubled down on the Blendoor product. And I don't know that that would have happened if these circumstances were in play. So I guess the way that Grit shows up for me is understanding that you won't always have everything you need, but you have to kind of find the silver lining in order to get what you want.
Sure. Now, Courtney and Ty, how about you all in terms of Grit, the pandemic, and how you all deal with being a founder and the trials and tribulations that come with that, right?
Well, I guess when you think about it, and Courtney's going to come in, I second what Stephanie has said. The pandemic, it didn't shock me. I think it surprised me that they didn't think that we were essential. But I think that when you think about Grit, I've always had to live with Grit. I'm the seventh of 8 kids, grew below the poverty line as well, and grew in a big family. So 5 generations in one home.
And
so
bathroom.
1 bathroom, 3 bedrooms. So you got to figure that out. And that's like 13 people at that time. So, you figure things out, and it doesn't affect you. I think that having personal relationships is great. And we've had to double down again, as like Stephanie, in having a lot of meetings online, hiring, and just really developing that connection. And I think having that connection comes with people wanting to work with you. And so that Grit is something, I don't even say the word grit. I have to put 2 T's on it in IER. I want it to be grittier, because I think we can work through the grit, and you got to go a little deeper in that grit in order to really figure things out. And that's what we've been able to do.
Yeah. I think for us too, because we were shocked that people thought that we were not essential, revenues went to zero, right? Because there were places that were not open for business, where salon owners could not open for business, where barbers could not go in and cut hair professionally. And so we said, well, we've been here before, unfortunately, I guess, having so many years in the industry, we've lived through Y2K, we've lived through Ebola, we lived through, the 08, 07 recession. And so we knew that it was just a matter of time before our industry just curved back up again. Yes, it was uncomfortable, of course. And we fielded so many phone calls from stylists and salon owners saying, oh my gosh, help me. What can I do today to keep my business going? I need to feed my family, and this is all I have. And so I think in that moment, we just turned the corner a little bit and turned our service tunage up. another notch. And so came out with things like 100+ educational resources to help people figure out how to grow and manage their business from behind the chair, right? So like, what portions of your business can you potentially transition to be online? What makes the most sense for you? Once we get out of this pandemic, why is it important to have a relationship with your banker, for example, right? Resources to get people approved for even PPP, and helping them, like literally we would go through and do screenshots of how you process the EIDL loan, right? And so I'm so very happy to say that even our team worked to get over 125 stylists who had already been denied for PPP the first time actually get approved for it. And so again, just kind of turning the tunage up on, thank you so much. That's 125 businesses still going strong, guys. And so, you know, for us, it was again just turning outward and saying, how can we again be the most helpful for you?
And I know that the pandemic created a behavioral change. So we knew that a lot of stylists couldn't work at the salon, so they started working at home. So, but we knew that they had to make it work, whether it's working outside in California, whether they be working in their home, whether they're working in a garage. But we knew that they were trying to survive to feed their families. So at the end of the day, we knew that once business were open back up, people wanted to go back where they were classically trained. We knew that the customers were going to want to go retreat back to the salons and barbershops because that's a treat for themselves to get up every day, go to the salon, get their hair washed in a shampoo bowl instead of the sink or the bathtub. So we know that all those amenities and those accoutrements that were needed were going to be right back in session. So we weren't totally surprised by the pandemic, but we were knowing that there was going to be a behavioral change and how were they going to adjust once everything opened back up.
Sure. And, you know, something that I've recognized during this conversation with you all, and I'm genuinely enjoying this, is you all are dealing with an education issue in one form or another, right? Whether it be bra sizes, like, unfortunately, and I'm not trying to make excuses up, but I don't know a whole lot about that, right? And then Paulie, the issues that you're combating.
All about it. Don't lie.
Unfortunately, I'm a little bit more in a bubble than I think, I guess. But all of you are dealing with different education topics and hurdles that you have to deal with, and it's really interesting to me. So I'm getting a lot of questions here, and we only have a little bit of time left, so I really want to do everybody justice. But some people want to know, like, where do you want to take your company? What's the end game? What's your grandest vision of what your company could be? So I'm gonna start at the top again and work my way down. So Danielle, what's the grandest vision and the end game for your company with Wherewithal?
I'm a big picture gal, so I'm like crazy up here, but really, I truly think that this could be a paradigm shift in this industry and allowing this personalization. There's so many sizes. It's so wasteful. Women fluctuate every single day. We gain weight, we lose weight. We're women who are breastfeeding or mothers to be, you know, our bra will actually adjust as she grows and as she evolves. And so I think as far as the scale of our company in the industry, I really see this being more of a paradigm shift and something that kind of takes shape and just takes over, if you will. But with the bra itself is a little more personal or inward facing. So that adjustability will allow customers to look inward and cultivate what feels best to them. So I hope that when worn daily, it becomes a tool of this self-connection where it transcends just your bra and, you know, you change the size. If you've eaten a little too much at lunch, we call it unbuttoning your belt for your bra. You can just scoot it out. But I hope that really manifests into when you don't like your surroundings, when you're not comfortable in something, when you want more, when you want better, you make that change for you. So I really, you know, this is me being up here, but I really hope that it becomes a tool for self-connection and something that like brings you back to your truest self, really.
Oh, that's great.
Good.
Paulie, how about you? What's your grandest vision? What's your end game for your company?
Yeah, I think after working in government and on Wall Street, I kept trying to find the most effective route to enact change that I think had social consequence. So the ultimate goal, you know, we have for men, Viagra, Hims, Roman, Playboy, Trojan, Hustler, Hollywood, Manscaping, all of these very mainstream brands that cater to men that are considered not taboo. I want Unbound to be the first household brand name that does that for the other 50% of the population that doesn't identify as men. And then I want to use that as a platform to actually enact social change. So right now, there are only 13 states in the US that require sex ed to be scientifically and factually accurate. In my home state, there's only one place a woman can go in the entire state to get an abortion. There's just a lot of, I think, things that we can influence through the private sector in terms of shifting policy by shifting mindsets. So that's the ultimate goal, is to really try to change something that is stigmatized and to just make it a normal everyday conversation, both through the products and the conversation.
Sure. All noble endeavors. Stephanie, how about you? What's your grand vision for the company?
Yeah, so my grand vision for Blendoor is to be the engine that enables people operation systems to mitigate bias so that we can judge people more fairly. So starting off in hiring, we anonymize profiles, but the real important piece of it is building better AI, which will be driving a lot of decision making about who gets into what schools and who gets to work at what company, who gets what type of healthcare. So it's going to become more and more critical that the AI behind this decision making is equipped with better data sets and better training models so that we can better treat people based on who they really are and not our stereotypes and perceptions of who they are.
Awesome. Courtney and Ty, how about you all? What's your grand vision and your end game for ShearShare?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is definitely be the ecosystem for the beauty industry. We know that this industry is so fragmented, and they're trying to promote themselves, sell products, and utilize everything about this in every platform. So from the Instagrams, the Twitters, the Facebooks, we can be the ecosystem for this industry where we provide them able to connect with other stylists, connect with salon owners, sell e-commerce, advertising. So we're doing all the work on the back end. So once they come in, they don't have to go out. And everything they do outside of it will be just another connector point for them to expose themselves. But Courtney probably would think I
agree. But I would add to that that at the end of the day, our platform, whether you sit on the supply side or you sit on the demand side, our goal is to help you maximize your earnings potential. If you choose this industry to feed your family, we want to lower every single hurdle. All of the bumps and bruises that we learned over the last 3 decades, we're trying to erase all of that for you and give you a tech layer so that it becomes a little sexy, right? So if you think about, like Ty mentioned, we want to become that ecosystem. We do want to become that premier B2B ecosystem that gives you all those tools that you need to grow and manage your business. Like, why is it that we as stylists and salon owners don't think about portable benefits, from day one? Why do we not think about retirement as soon as we start our business? Quarterly taxes is really a thing. And so instead of showing up somewhere with a shoebox full of receipts, why can't we make that a little bit more easier in order to
digitize?
Oh yeah, digitize it. We actually have a big announcement coming next week. We partnered with a large insurance company. It's been 2 years in the making, believe it or not. But for the first time, and again, we pioneered on-demand salon and barbershop space rentals. And now we're going to be pioneering this thing where individual stylists can go onto the ShearShare platform, book a couple of days that they're going to work, and then now be able to purchase professional liability insurance by the day. Never happened before in our industry, and it's something we're so very proud of. But again, if you're choosing this industry, we want to make it super easy for you to get access to all the things that you need in order to run your business, but you only pay for what you actually use. Why is that not a thing? And so you haven't heard the last from us. We feel like we're just getting started. And one day, John, we will be writing our S1, just so you know.
There you go. That's what I like to hear. No, that's incredible, everybody. We're time sensitive here, and I'm getting a lot of notes here on my end that people are really enjoying this, and you're making people want to be entrepreneurs and do good in the world. So that's phenomenal. Some people out there may say may want to just cash in and go off to an island and that's it. But you all are really out there trying to do good in the world, and I commend that. And I'm sure I'm not alone with that. So being a little time sensitive here. So I want to get back to the ask, right? Do any of you have any products or need to get users on your platforms, or is there anything that our audience can help with? And then also how they can connect with you and your company and that sort of thing. So I'm going to kick it over to you all for that. So Danielle, how can people find out more about you, your company, and some of your efforts?
Yeah, so we will be launching in February, and we're launching exclusively to only the people on our waitlist. So if you want to join our waitlist, it's shopwherewithal.com. That's also our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We haven't been posting too much. Like I said, we're looking for that marketing person to be, but right now we're going to start ramping up that marketing 2021 January. And then we are fundraising. We're actively trying to close a pre-seed round to get us through our beta launch, and then a few months after to hold us over until we raise that seed round. But we know that we need traction, we need data, we need to prove that this is going to be huge. And so we just need that amount to get us through our beta launch. And then if anybody wants to be part of that, we have 21,000, or I'm sorry, not 21,000, 2,100 people on our wait list with zero marketing spend. So we're only launching 500 units to start. So if you are interested, please join our wait list, and then we'll send details soon to come.
And they find that information on your website, is that right?
Yes, shopwherewithal.com.
Awesome. Well, good. So Paulie, how about you? What are some of your recent projects or products, or how can any of our audience help you out, if at all, and where can they reach you at?
Yeah, if you are in the need for any sexual wellness products, we have really good, I'll let this group of participants know, our first sale goes live on Sunday evening. So like we're doing 20% off, and then 25% off for Black Friday, and then 30% off for Cyber Monday. Don't tell anyone I told you that, but those are our promotions. So if you're in the market for any new products, you can find ours at unboundbabe.com, which is also our Instagram handle. If you need some funny memes in your life, that is what we do. And my only ask would be is if you were surprised that sexual wellness products for women aren't allowed to advertise, but ones for men are, and there's someone in your life that you think would find that interesting, I'd ask that you'd share it with one other person. Maybe it's your best friend, maybe it's your partner, but part of our biggest problem is that people don't even know that these discriminatory policies exist. And so I feel like I'm constantly trying to educate that there's a huge bias between what is considered taboo and what isn't in our industry. So.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. Very good. Stephanie, how about you? How can people find out more about Blendoor and your recent efforts?
Yeah, feel free to go to our website, email us at hello@blendoor.com. I'm hiring data analysts and data engineers, also a chief of staff, which is kind of like a co-CEO role. So if you're interested, please do apply. I am not biased towards fancy degrees, even though I have them. I do not think that's a representation of what you're capable of. So please, contact us and apply either way. And then lastly, I would say, if you work for a company that you think could benefit from a comprehensive DE&I assessment audit, we have this really new product, Blend Score, as I mentioned, that can help companies understand where they are and what they should be measuring in order to have a more holistic, inclusive culture.
Oh,
Cool.
Fantastic. Yep. So Courtney and Ty, how about you all? Where can people find out more about ShearShare and help out if in any way?
No, definitely always help out. If you guys are walking down the street, in your neighborhood, and you pop your head in a salon and you see an empty chair, do us a favor and tell that individual, that business owner, that small business owner about ShearShare. Tell your stylist, tell your nail tech, tell your makeup artist, tell your esthetician, tell your massage therapist, anything that touches your body, tell that service provider about ShearShare. That's free. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram. We have some amazing content there that is laughable, I would say. And it also kind of dictates our journey. It follows us as we are building this thing with the industry that we're we get to serve every day. And then lastly, we are hiring. So we're hiring for a data scientist. That's the very last thing that we want to do by the end of 2020. So, and this person does not have to be sitting in Dallas, which is where we sit. They can be remote, of course. And so if you know someone, they don't have to have a fancy degree at all, but I would really want them to be as passionate about what we're doing every day as we are. Let them know about ShearShare. And you have any questions, Ty and I are always free to and open for conversation. You can email me at Courtney@ShearShare.com, and that's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. I honestly, we're out of time. I would like this conversation to go on a lot longer. I learned so much today, so I genuinely appreciate everybody's time from the bottom of my heart, from all of us at Startup of the Year and Established. I mean, we love to be supporting people such as you that have such great undertakings and really commendable endeavors. So next up, everybody, we have a conversation hallway, so you can jump over there and network and meet some other people in the, in your industry or other startups. We also have some final thoughts from Frank and Jen later today, so make sure to check that out. And then tomorrow, we have our final day of the summit where we're going to be announcing the Startup of the Year champion for 2020. It's a very exciting day and a lot of good stuff going on, a lot of great speakers. Signing off for now. Thank you all again. This was our alumni startup spotlight. So thank you to our panel and all of you out there watching.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, everyone.